Have you ever heard someone, maybe even yourself, draw a definitive line in the sand? Oh, I can't do that. I'm an introvert. Or, of course, they're the life of the party. They're a total extravert. It feels so simple, doesn't it? A neat little box to place ourselves and others in. It gives us a language, a shortcut to understanding the complex machinery of human personality. But what if that neat little box is actually a cage? What if the very label we use for comfort is limiting the vast, beautiful landscape of who we truly are? The brilliant psychoanalyst Carl Jung, the very man who gave us these terms, once issued a stark warning. He said, "There is no such thing as a pure introvert or a pure extrovert. Such a person would be in a lunatic asylum." Now that's a powerful statement. It's not just an academic observation. It's a profound insight into the nature of mental balance. It suggests that the path to a healthy, whole self is not found at the extreme ends of a spectrum, but in the dynamic, often messy, dance between them. So today, we're not just going to define introversion and extraversion. We're going to journey deeper, past the labels, into the very heart of Jung's wisdom. We're going to explore why this psychological balance is not just a nice idea, but an absolute necessity for a rich and meaningful life. To truly understand this, I want you to imagine something with me. Picture that within you, right now, resides a master architect. This is your inner architect, the part of you that corresponds to what Jung called introversion. This architect lives in a quiet, spacious studio within your mind. The walls are lined with blueprints of dreams, shelves are filled with the memories that built you, and the air is thick with the silence needed for deep thought and reflection. This is where your values are forged, where you process your experiences, and where you draw the intricate plans for your life. Your inner architect finds energy in this solitude. It's not about being shy or antisocial. It's about drawing power from the inner world. This is the part of you that craves a quiet evening with a book, that needs time to think before speaking, that feels most alive when connecting with the deepest currents of your own soul. This studio is your sanctuary, the source code of your identity. But what good is the most brilliant blueprint if it remains forever on the drafting table? What is the purpose of a magnificent design if it is never built, never tested, never lived in? And so, just outside the architect's studio lies a vast, vibrant, and unpredictable city. This city represents the outer world, the realm of what Jung called extraversion. It's a place of bustling streets, crowded cafes, unexpected encounters, and a million different voices. It's the world of relationships, of collaboration, of action, of putting your ideas into the world and seeing how they fare. This is where you connect, share, laugh, and learn from others. Your extroverted self is the part of you that is energized by this city. It's the part that enjoys a lively discussion, that feels a spark from collaborating on a project, that seeks out new experiences, and feels the pulse of life through connection with the world and the people in it. The core of our journey today, the secret hidden in Jung's warning, is this: you are not just the architect, and you are not just the city. You are the builder who must learn to walk between the two. The essence of a whole life is the bridge you build between the quiet studio of your inner world and the bustling streets of the outer world. And for many of us, that bridge is either in disrepair or has never been fully constructed. We find ourselves trapped on one side, believing it's the only place we belong. If this idea of being both the architect and the city is already sparking a new perspective for you, take a moment to subscribe to Mind Decode Explained. We journey through these intricate landscapes of the mind together, exploring the blueprints and the avenues that make us who we are. Let's explore what happens when we live at the extremes, when we become, as Jung warned, a pure type. Imagine the architect who never leaves their studio. They spend years, decades even, perfecting their blueprints. The designs become more and more elaborate, fantastical, and disconnected from the laws of physics and the reality of the outside world. The architect becomes a master of a world that exists only in their mind. Out in the city, they feel overwhelmed, alien, and misunderstood. The noise is too loud, the people too demanding, the pace too frantic. They retreat further into their studio, where they feel safe and in control. But this isolation comes at a cost. Their magnificent ideas never see the light of day. Their potential to contribute, to build something real and lasting, withers. This is the path Jung saw leading towards profound loneliness, social anxiety, and a form of depression born from a life unlived, a soul disconnected from the world it was meant to inhabit. The German-Swiss psychiatrist Hermann Rorschach, a contemporary of Jung, might have seen in such a person's interpretations of his famous ink blots a world rich in internal detail, but lacking in what he called human movement, a symbolic absence of connection and interaction with others. The inner world becomes a prison, however beautifully decorated. Now, let's imagine the opposite extreme. The person who lives only in the city. They are constantly on the move, rushing from one interaction to the next, building frantically without ever consulting a blueprint. Their life is a whirlwind of activity, of social events, of projects, of noise. They are energized by the crowd, their identity defined by the reflections they see in the eyes of others. They are the ultimate pragmatist, the doer, the networker, but they never, ever visit the quiet studio inside. They are afraid of the silence. What would they find there? The silence feels empty, lonely, and terrifying. Without the constant stimulation of the city, they feel a gnawing sense of hollowness. Their constructions are often chaotic and unstable, built on foundations of fleeting trends and the approval of others, rather than on the bedrock of their own values. They might achieve what the world calls success, but late at night, in the rare moments of quiet, they feel like an imposter in their own life. This is the state that can lead to what Jung might call a loss of soul, a frantic existence that eventually collapses into burnout, anxiety, or a crisis of meaning. They have built many things, but they have not built a self. As the renowned researcher and storyteller Brené Brown describes, such a life lacks the vulnerability that comes from true self-knowledge, the kind of knowledge that can only be cultivated in the quiet of our own inner studio. This is the core of Jung's principle of compensation. He believed the human psyche is a self-regulating system that constantly seeks balance. If you consciously push too hard in one direction, your unconscious will push back. The extreme introvert, lost in their blueprints, will begin to have dreams of being naked in a crowd or finding themselves on a stage with no script. The unconscious is screaming for connection, for a dose of the city's reality. The extreme extravert, lost in the city's noise, might find themselves plagued by a persistent, low-level anxiety they can't explain, or they might engage in increasingly risky behaviors to feel something, anything real. Their unconscious is desperately trying to pull them back into the studio, to force them to sit down and ask, "Who am I, really, when no one is watching? What is the blueprint for all this activity?" When we ignore these signals, the psyche's whispers turn into shouts, and the shouts can manifest as psychological distress. The lunatic asylum is a dramatic metaphor, but it points to a fundamental truth. A one-sided life is an unbalanced life, and an unbalanced life cannot, by its very nature, be a healthy one. Modern psychology has, in many ways, validated and built upon Jung's foundational ideas. The widely accepted Big Five personality model, championed by researchers like Paul Costa and Robert McCrae, places extraversion as one of the 5 core dimensions of personality. Critically, they don't describe it as a binary choice, but as a continuous spectrum. You are not either an introvert or an extrovert. You are somewhere on a line between the two. Think of it like a slider on a control panel. Most of us don't have the slider jammed all the way to the left or all the way to the right. It moves. Depending on the situation, our energy levels, and our stage of life, we might slide more towards one end or the other. This model liberates us from the tyranny of the label. You can be the person who gives a commanding presentation at work, drawing on your extroverted skills, and then desperately needs a weekend of solitude to recharge. honoring your introverted nature. Neither one invalidates the other. They are both authentic expressions of your complex personality. This brings us to the increasingly popular concept of the ambivert, a term brought to the forefront by organizational psychologist Adam Grant. In his research, published in Psychological Science, Grant found that the most successful salespeople, for instance, were not the most extreme extroverts, as common wisdom might suggest. The best performers were the ambiverts, those who sat near the middle of the spectrum. Why? Because they possessed the flexibility to be both assertive and attuned. They knew when to speak and when to listen. They could engage with the energy of the city, but they had also spent enough time in the studio to understand human nature, to empathize, and to connect on a deeper level. The ambivert is the master builder in action. They are fluent in the language of the studio and the language of the city. They can stand on the bridge they've built and see clearly in both directions, choosing the right approach for the right moment. This doesn't mean we should all strive to be perfectly in the middle. It means we should recognize and cultivate our ability to move along the spectrum, to access the strengths of both our inner architect and our city dweller. One of the most damaging misconceptions we need to dismantle is the conflation of introversion with shyness. They are not the same thing. Shyness is rooted in fear, the fear of social judgment, of saying the wrong thing, of being rejected. Introversion is rooted in energy. It's about how you recharge your battery. The inner architect isn't afraid of the city. They simply know that their best work, their deepest insights, and their source of power come from the quiet of their studio. A shy person might avoid a party out of fear, while an introvert might skip the same party simply because they know it will drain their energy reserves, and they'd rather spend that energy on a deep conversation with a close friend or on a creative project. Conversely, extraversion is not the same as being socially skilled or constantly happy. An extrovert can be awkward. An extrovert can feel deeply lonely in a crowd if the connections are superficial. Living in the city doesn't guarantee you a sense of belonging. True belonging comes when the person you are in the city is aligned with the blueprints designed by the architect in your studio. When your outer actions are in harmony with your inner values, that is when you feel whole, regardless of where you fall on the spectrum. So, how do we begin the work of building and strengthening this bridge between our inner and outer worlds? How do we become the master builder of our own lives? The journey begins with radical self-awareness and self-compassion. It means laying down the labels of introvert or extrovert as rigid identities and picking them up as simple descriptions of our current energy flow. The question is not, what am I? But rather, what do I need right now? Some days, the answer will be the quiet solitude of the studio. Other days, it will be the vibrant energy of the city. The goal is not to force a perfect 50/50 balance every single day, but to create a life where both needs are honored and met over time. If you tend to live primarily as the architect, if you find yourself spending most of your time in the quiet studio, your work is to consciously and gently venture out onto the bridge. This doesn't mean forcing yourself to go to a loud nightclub, if that's your personal hell. It means finding low-stakes, authentic ways to engage with the city. It could be as simple as scheduling a weekly coffee with a friend whose conversation you genuinely enjoy. It could be joining a book club or a hiking group where the activity itself provides a comfortable structure for social interaction. It's about taking one of your blueprints, an idea, a thought, a feeling, and sharing it with one trusted person. See what it feels like to let your inner world be touched by the outer world. The feedback you receive, the connection you make, is the raw material you can bring back to your studio to enrich your future designs. As psychologist Linda Smiley's research in the Journal of Personality suggests, individuals who can flexibly adapt their behavior, moving from introverted to extroverted modes as needed, report higher levels of well-being. This flexibility is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned through practice. Start small. The first step onto the bridge is the most important one. If you, on the other hand, spend most of your time in the bustling city, if you find silence uncomfortable and your calendar is always full, your work is the opposite. It is to consciously schedule time to walk back across the bridge and spend time in your studio. This can feel incredibly daunting at first. The silence might feel deafening. You might feel restless, bored, or anxious. This is your psyche's withdrawal from the constant stimulation it has grown accustomed to. Your task is to sit with that discomfort, gently. You don't have to meditate for an hour on your first day. Start with 5 minutes of quiet. No phone, no TV, no music, just you and your thoughts. Start a journal and write down whatever comes to mind, without judgment. Ask yourself simple, powerful questions. What did I truly feel today? Beneath all the activity, what is one thing I want to build in my life that is just for me, not for anyone else's approval? This practice is about reacquainting yourself with your inner architect. At first, the architect might be shy or distrustful. You've been away for a long time, but with consistent, gentle visits, you will begin to rediscover the blueprints of your own soul. You will start to act in the city, not just out of habit or impulse, but with intention and purpose, guided by a renewed sense of your own core values. The ultimate breakthrough, the aha moment on this journey, is the realization that the studio and the city are not opposing forces. They are partners in a creative dance. They need each other. The studio provides the vision, the depth, the meaning, the why. The city provides the feedback, the connection, the action, the how. A life lived only in the studio is a dream that never takes flight. A life lived only in the city is a frantic race without a destination. The masterpiece of your life is created in the interplay between them. It's in the moment the architect takes a blueprint into the city and realizes a wall needs to move based on the landscape. It's in the moment the city dweller, after a challenging interaction, retreats to the studio to understand their feelings and draft a better response for the future. This integration is what Jung called the process of individuation, the journey of becoming a whole, individual, and undivided self. You stop being a person who is run by either their introverted or extraverted preferences and become a person who consciously uses both to navigate the world with wisdom and grace. And so, we arrive at a place of hope and empowerment. The goal was never to erase your natural inclinations. If you are naturally more of an architect, your gift is depth, reflection, and insight. Cherish it. If you are naturally more of a city dweller, your gift is action, connection, and energy. Celebrate it. The invitation is not to abandon your home base, but to build a sturdy, beautiful, well-trodden bridge to the other side. You are not a label, a box, or a category. You are a process, a journey, a dynamic flow of energy. You are the profound silence of the studio and the vibrant music of the city. You are the deep root and the blossoming flower. The health of the root determines the beauty of the blossom, and the nourishment the blossom receives from the sun and the rain feeds the root. They are one system, one life. A life of incredible complexity and boundless potential. The next time you feel the urge to define yourself with a simple label, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself a different question. Which part of my beautiful, whole self needs my attention right now? The architect or the city dweller? The profound truth is, you don't have to choose one over the other. You just have to keep walking the bridge between them. For that is where a truly authentic life is built.